So long story short, this guy's a bit fucked. Well, not this one. So this video is for the one person that commented on my video that they want an update on the 180 4x4. So the last video you saw on the 180 is the suspension one, and that was actually recorded back in February, 9 months ago. So where do I start with that car? I had a bit of an accident with it, let's say. So I had these cheap tyres that I bought because I didn't have money for good tyres when I first started driving it, and yeah, they were crap. You could slide it everywhere. So I decided to order some Michelin Pilot Sport 4s, I believe. I ordered a set of 4, but only 2 came, so I put them on the front. One evening it was raining quite heavily, and there's this roundabout that goes slightly uphill, and I lost the control a bit. It was sort of my fault as well. I was going too quick. Front lost grip, it sent all the power to the back, and I just span out into the lamppost, then into the ditch, and it was crashed. So the car was off the road for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. It was only the rear quarter panel that was a bit fucked, and the bumper. Thankfully that car was fitted with a tow bar, so we had the big chunky bumper, like, you know, the metal underneath it. It wasn't like a crush, remember. So that actually saved the car and me. No one got hurt, the airbags didn't get deployed. So I got the car back home, went to a scrapyard, cut a quarter panel from a different car, cut my quarter panel off, welded it on best as I could. I've never welded a car before like sheet metal. I managed to repair it. It was drivable. Got the rear tyres, same as the front ones, and that was it. I was driving the car willy-nilly. Everything was fine. One day they was doing road work, and you know when they like ground the floor out, or the old tarmac out, and there's like a little jump. Well, that was a bigger jump. It was like good 2.5 inches. And in a lowered car with a bad suspension, this Pro Sport that I mentioned in the previous video, if you haven't watched that, watch that video now, because that explains a lot about that suspension. It's so bad. Death trap, that suspension. The impact was so hard that the gearbox hit the ground, pulled the bolts of the gearbox mount, gearbox dropped on the floor and cracked. I had to get it towed also. In the meantime, I bought the Mark 1 Octavia, you know, the one that had one owner. So yeah, I drove that till I managed to find the gearbox. It was a pain to find that gearbox. Bought a new subframe. So what I'd actually managed to do is I managed to prop up the gearbox up with some ratchet straps. Started looking, so I needed a new gearbox. Found that actually a new gearbox was actually, I can't remember, I think it was 50 quid for a gearbox. So I drove the broken gearbox into a garage that I'm not going to name, with the new gearbox in the boot. So I dropped the car off. Meantime, I was driving the stock Octavia. They had the car for quite a while, because I don't know why. So they started working on it. While we're in there, well, your clutch is a bit worn, and you've got a load of play in the flywheel. Like, all right, how much is it going to be to get a new clutch, the exact same one? So they said, I don't know how much it was, but I remember when I checked it back, they overcharged me, I think by 200 quid on the parts alone. So they put the new gearbox in, well, the one that I found. New subframe that I provided as well, and they provided the clutch and the flywheel. Went to pick it up. I think it took them like 3 weeks or something like that. Went to pick it up, drove it back home, and I almost killed myself driving back home because they didn't tighten the lug nuts. I was pulling off a dual carriageway, and the steering wheel just ripped out my hands, and I almost went into incoming traffic. I step outside, and wheels were just pointing in every direction imaginable. So they didn't tighten the wheel bolts, and they just snapped right off. I called the guy when I stopped on the side of the road. I almost had an accident because someone didn't tighten the bolts, and I was like, no way, no, that's possible. But props up to him. He came straight to my house after I left back home to have a look at it, and he said, all right, yeah, my bad, I'll fix it. A few days passed. It was around Christmas time. He picked it up with a trailer that was terrible. That should have been a red flag when I should have said no. That trailer scraped the entire bottom of the car. It was way too small for that car. So he took it away, had to replace wheel bearings, bolts, like ABS sensor, something like that. So a few days later, I think it took him another week, he dropped it off back at my house, and then I said, all right, we'll go for a drive, see how it is. Clutch, there was clutch, but it was so spongy, like they didn't air it out. Brakes almost non-existent, and then there was something seeping underneath the car. The clutch master cylinder was pissing out fluid, like a lot of it. So I was like, I had enough. So I messaged them saying, oh yeah, I found this and this and this. I said, but I had enough. And then I went to make that video about the suspension, so I started to replace the suspension, and I took the wheel off, and this is what I found. So I kept messaging them saying, what are you going to do with this? Both front wheels were fucked. They're buckled. The tyres are fucked from whatever's happened. all the poly bushes on the arms are ripped because the wobble that was there. He put the wrong kit that has the wrong bearings and the bearings fit, but whenever you touch the brakes while turning, the ABS kicks in. No matter how fast you're going, they will kick in, so you have to drive without ABS. So that's fucked. And then I was like, oh, I just can't bother dealing with them, so I just kept messaging them, at least send me an invoice, because they didn't give me an invoice. I just sent money straight to the bank account. So this day, it's been 10 months, they still haven't sent me an invoice. I gave up. I gave up. I had to sell that stock Mark 1 because I needed the money. So I had to drive that car for a while. And then January came. I started noticing a lot of white smoke from the exhaust. The head gasket's gone. Power steering's leaking. Oh yeah, that's messed up because of their fuck up. Power steering's leaking, like the rack is messed up. It's got so much play in it. Steering wheel's got so much play in it. Or even the brake discs are warped because of the impact. Because when the wheel let go, I've hit the curb, and yeah, it bent the discs as well. The head gasket's gone. There's so much work I need to do. Like, you can drive it, but I'm just going to ruin the engine. So the head gaskets needs doing. There is power steering. There's a leak on the back of the turbo. It's just, and that's why I bought this in February, and have a hard time to work on it really. But one day I'm going to go back to it because I miss driving it, especially when it's got a new suspension on it now. But yeah, that's the story of what happened to the 180. So yeah, if you have any questions, post in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them. So I'll see you in the next one.